Okay, so welcome to the first Agile Austin Product and AI SIG of 2025. Um, Super happy to have Elena Bobkova here today. She's going to be talking about generative AI, risk management, compliance, and product design. I've worked with Elena in the past and learned a lot from her about these topics and many more, especially as they relate to product development and software development, life cycle, so on and so forth. As a reminder, this special interest group, or SIG, is part of Agile Austin. There's our mission. Here's our board. One of our board members, Max Akesi, is here today. Welcome, Max. He'll be talking just a little bit about an event that's coming up. There's some sponsorship opportunities and membership opportunities. Membership has some rewards. Take a look. If you have any questions, reach out to Vishal, Max, or I. As a reminder, there's actually 6 different meetups as part of Agile Austin. We're down there in the lower left, but there's other places to contribute and learn and all the great stuff. It's all free, except for maybe something Max will talk about in a second, which is our conference. Here's our sponsors, platinum sponsor for, gosh, it's probably going to be decades at some point, Agile Velocity, and gold sponsor ResumeX, and silver Admiral Coaching. We have a benefit as being a member of Agile Austin, and you can seek Max for more information on what that is, and that's pretty exciting. And then Agile Austin's giving us 15% off all public workshops as members. If you're interested in volunteering, that's what all of us do. Max does, Vishal does, I do. Just let us know. contact@agileaustin.org. Just a little bit about Vishal and I. You can read that if you want to. We've been around Agile Austin now in a couple of years. It'll be 2 decades. That's really scary. And then we focus on here, the focus on sort of product and SIG. We put it in that order. Sometimes it's the intersection. Sometimes it's a little bit heavier on AI. Sometimes a little bit heavier on product. But we like to always have at least a little bit of product in what we talk about. We have a Slack community within Agile Austin. Reach out to me if you're interested about that. Next month, we're going to have a really interesting leader from Austin. Her name is Susanna. She's going to be talking about AI enhanced leadership, clarity, accountability, and personalized growth. And the next 2 are open. We've got some ideas out there, but we'd love it if you would be the presenter. Before I introduce Elena, Max, did you want to talk just a little bit about the conference coming up?
Yes, thank you, Matt. Thank you. Max Akesi here from Austin, and also presently the Agile Austin president, 4th year going. And Matt Roberts, fun fact, was Agile Austin president way back, and he just inspired me. He inspired me. It's just too much fun. But I'm here to talk about Evolving with Agility, which is the theme of our Keep Austin Agile Conference 2025. This is the 12th annual, 12th annual conference. It just gets better. We have tons of fun doing it. So we'll do it again. And we're doing great. We have title sponsors, bunch of sponsors, awesome venue. People are buying tickets. But I'm here mainly to say, hey, why, if you're interested, it's a hybrid conference. You can join virtually or in person. I will put in the chat the information and the links, and we just love to have opportunities for Agilists to come together, share knowledge, and have an awesome time. Fun fact, the feedback we got the last time was better food and coffee all day. So now we're going to have full-fledged breakfast and lunch buffet, high end, and coffee, snacks, and drinks all day long. Agilists can be so needy sometimes, can't they? Huh? Yeah. So thank you, Matt, and I'll put the information in the chat.
Awesome. Thanks, Max. I'm going to just go ahead and share one more time here, probably the final slide. Share. Great. So here's just a little bit about Elena, or at least Elena's talk today. Um, Elena, probably best for you to just give a brief bio or summary on your background, but really excited, and I can speak from personal experience to Elena's expertise in helping amplify product and engineering through compliance, and risk management actually being not a bad word, but actually a competitive differentiator for product development, specifically in my experience at Skykick, now ConnectWise, and just the how great it's been for our customers in Europe, to see these kinds of certifications through a very agile process. And if folks know me, they know I love agile and I love lean. And Elena's right there with us talking about how you can be agile and lean and also have great compliances that go along with that. So today she's really going to get into Gen AI in product and how to approach them again using risk management. We're talking about the benefits of Gen AI, but also the risks and how you turn those around to be benefits. And she's going to share some good like state of the art what's going on right now and where AI compliance is headed. So with all that, I'm going to hand it over to Elena.
Perfect. Thank you, Matt. I will share my screen because my introduction kind of in my presentation. And I usually prefer to start with topic overview. Oops. Can you see my presentation?
Looks great.
Okay, great. Perfect. Gen AI in 2025, risk management and governance. And come on, can you move? Okay, perfect. So funny thing, when I start preparing to this talk, I realized the talk what I did on exactly this topic on a Black Hat conference few months, 2 months ago, absolutely outdated right now. So I had to rewrite everything, and it's kind of scared me because if you look at these numbers, industrial revolutions will came in a cycle of first 80 years, after 40, and the last one 30 years, which brought the computers and automation. And scientific breakthrough when discovered bacteria, DNA, all kind of thing, also 200 years, 60, 50. Computers evolution, you all know Moore's law, every 18 months, computer evolution and kind of doubling power. Business process evolution, usually we take it for 12 months, like a financial year, planning year, 12 months, it's a business process evolution when they should develop somehow. And now we have AI agent. When before we were talking what generative AI, evolution in 6 months. So AI agent now make this time in about 3 or even 1 month. It's still kind of in discussion. And I will explain you why it's scary and why it's provide a lot of opportunity. So if you don't do anything, you outsider because you outdated, you have outdated company, so you need to use this opportunity. But as soon as you start using this, you step into unknown and you have to understand the consequences. So we will talk about practical application and how I start imagining Skynet last night, trying to prepare for that talk. And I'm most practical person of all. I'm voting for AI. I love it absolutely. So about me. I work as a ICT tech manager in DNV. It's not DMV, it's a Det Norske Veritas, a certification body. We certify companies for various ISO, and I personally have 15 different ISO qualification as an auditor. But right now I'm working as a ICT manager of hiring, training, resolving conflict situation for both Americas, for informational security, data privacy, artificial intelligence auditors. I spent years and years giving talks on security risk management and ISO auditing and governance. All my talks 20 years ago were in Russian. So right now, in the last 2 years, I kind of really relieved what I preserved that power in English also, because before I thought I lost that. I don't have engineering degree. I have master's degree in law. And in 1998, I did my thesis on the topic of security in providing telecommunication services in 1998. You can imagine how people look at me saying what I not only took the most challenging topic, the topic what no one understands, even in a tech school, not saying in a law school. So right now, my priority is AI strategy and training and AI security. It's a very emerging topic. And I am one of the first qualified trainers for ISO 42001 in North America. 42001, it's a new ISO management system for artificial intelligence for users and for developers. Honestly, I will confess to you, I don't have on a screen presentation notes, so I have no idea what I did for the fun facts about me. Oh, I put them in the text. Oh my goodness, that's really relief because I don't remember what I did. First fun fact, I'm a visa-free traveler. I have Russian, Australian, US citizenship. So there is no one country in the world where I need visa. And it's a very funny fact because a lot of people kind of struggling with that. And it's even I'm as a lawyer don't understand how you can have allegiance with free country and have free passport, but it is what it is. We moved to different house about 4 months ago, 5 months ago, to now we have 24 acres land and 9 ducks, 34 chickens, 4 goats, and 7 cats. Before, I didn't know what such a thing as barn cats existed, but it's a huge learning curve, and now I'm obsessed with those topics. 5 months ago, when I read about when you have chickens, you close your eyes, and instead of 20, you have 100. And I was like, no, it's not about me. But now I think it is about me. You know, it's a very dangerous area. It's very addictive. So in this presentation, what we will be looking first on AI governance. Is it anything what you need to do mandatory on a mandatory basis? And after we will look what we can do preventively, how we can recognize those risks or be ready for any kind of compliance what come in the future. Because if we invest our resources, if we invest our personal time in some training, and after some random compliance will change it all, right? So right now, AI governance look like that, and its evolution showing the AI governance from 2023, 2025. It's definitely, we can observe shift from voluntary guidelines to mandatory AI laws. The problem is mandatory, it's kind of, they're not really mandatory. For example, Biden Act on AI, it says it's mandatory, but if a law or legislation act doesn't have any practical steps and doesn't have any fines for violating these steps, you don't have to do anything. So there's practically nothing what you can do against that act. So it's more like a declaration. So this why it's definitely a shift from voluntary guidelines to mandatory, but it's not that obvious. And I will show you only one mandatory AI law right now, what you need to know what it's about. Practically all ISO, all laws, all regulation, all security frameworks, AI frameworks focus on risk-based regulation. So if you understand risk management, you can comply with them all. And it's coming from risk-based approach to make this risk evaluation transparent, to integrate accountability and analyze the data, what you have from previous evaluation. And of course, everyone want to see AI trustworthiness, lack of bias, and reinforce privacy. But honestly, for me, if it's declaration, doesn't matter how high this law is, it's just declaration. It's just like a wish list. Yes, we want it, but how we achieve that, that's absolutely different story. This what we have right now. It's AI standards compliance regulation. The most what you have to pay attention to, it's European Union AI Act, which is mandatory even if you have company in US, but you're selling your software if you have clients, if you have employees who would be using AI, or if you're modifying platform, if you're modifying your product with integration of AI and selling it to Europe. This European Union AI Act mostly focusing on a risk-based approach and a risk classification. We also have NIST AI risk management framework. It's voluntary, but it's kind of have the same, probably more in a detail risk-based approach as NIST do perfectly well for informational security. But again, it's voluntary, so you can adopt that. We also have ISO 42001, which is also voluntary, and the difference from the framework, from NIST framework, what ISO usually provide you company-wide approach, what allow you justify money spent on a risk-based approach or on internal audit or something like this. So it's more like a management system, holistic approach rather than just AI risk concentrated framework. For 42001, I can tell you as a kind of being the key expert in that, what it's not only voluntary, you can also have full compliance with task management system standards and do not have any certification or any audit at all. So you can just use these standards as a framework to see how you can bring your company to the compliance, but do not spend any money on that. Just kind of to see the pathway, to see the milestones. Another act or legislation what we have, I didn't include here more than 10 separate location AI regulation acts related to China, Spain, California, Mexico. It's mostly global or US related. So ISO, AI risk management, most of this ISO repeats the 31001 risk management, general risk management ISO. So if you know that, you probably know this ISO. Biden executive order, the same as I said, it's mandatory for federal agencies, but mostly it doesn't have that strict measures with fines and everything. So it's more like a high level act, and also it's only mandatory for federal agencies. Mostly on reviewing supply chain and their risk. White House AI Bill of Rights, also declarational document, voluntary, and OECD AI principles. So that's pretty much all. And this I did for you just to kind of wrap it up. For hypothetical US software developer who has European Union clients, that would be my suggestion to integrate the compliance roadmap for AI. Doesn't matter if you have AI users in a company or if you have AI developers or AI agent developers. So I would recommend you to first get to know NIST AI RMF, ISO 42001, and implement them. Try to implement them without certification, without audit. Just get to know them and see how they can be integrated in your management system in your company. US compliance, It's worth to know, even though these Biden acts and all these acts are declarative, it's still worth to know how they can apply it to you. For example, if you decided to have to be federal contractor. European Union compliance, of course, if you have any interaction with European Union, I highly recommend to read this EU AI Act, because it's not only mandatory, but it's the most detailed from all of them, which has the detailed risk classification and for whom it could be mandatory, and if you can just ignore that, if you're under low risk. And of course, ensure the GDPR alignment. If you are trading, if you have employees in a different country, also you can look into the specific AI regulation. And what I highly recommend to do continuous monitoring, to maybe not start with AI audit or even with implementing some tools, start with risk assessment, which we will dive deep further. And I will give you some practical tools, some practical applications. Sorry, I'm not monitoring chat, not monitoring questions, but if you kind of have something to say, just unmute yourself and say what you wanted. This is my cat. She cannot type, if you ask.
Well, Elena,
Yep.
just very quickly, there was a question.
Mhm.
It was from Matt, actually, but just in case he's not right now off mute.
Okay.
The EU AI Act,
Mhm.
given that this is a mandatory, what are the implications for non-compliance?
It's quite high fines in this act, and it's very well defined categories who can be fined. I honestly cannot tell you if it's any precedent, what company will find, or it was any cases, because it's kind of very fresh. But it definitely has a practical application and some consequences, serious consequences.
Got it. Thank you.
So what is the approach here? First, we need to understand where our application of AI lies, where the major risk for our companies, where the major kind of to have awareness about that. And I tested this topic on my husband. He is IT security, more on technological side. And I know how engineers thinking like, oh, AI is just algorithm. I know all that. It's not scary. It's like, so I tested this. So I will try to explain it to you how you have to approach that. So we have machine learning for many years already, right? And machine learning has a pretty straightforward approach. So we understand how it's working. We have almost full control of that, even if it's a huge data input and huge data output, it's still understandable how it's working. But generative AI is different. And even if you know all that, I will try to really briefly explain for people who don't know how it's working. So machine learning, it's rule follower. Whatever rule you tell, this is database, this is labels for the data, this is what you have to do. Even if it's multi-level step of actions, you still can create the rules. And therefore, you can notice or investigate deviation of behavior. You can notice or investigate what's gone wrong. Gen AI, it's more like a creative genius, and genius is not very positive in this case. Maybe could be, the negative also part. So, for example, let's say cats and dogs anatomy. We teach machine learning on recognition, visual anatomy, behavior between cats and dogs. And Gen AI, in this case, can connect the data across fields. It can pull different data, behavior, evolution, emotion. It can project data on cats, for example, from pumas, from leopard, from all different species. If it see any matching patterns, it's not always will be right. But it can adopt different databases. It can adopt different data, and what is more important, it can relabel it. And this kind of what differentiates it from machine learning. Gen AI doesn't need instructions. It can find its need instructions, but it also can find its own patterns. And I will tell later, it's kind of more approaching AI agent approach because it's completely changed our risk evaluation. So Gen AI more create possibilities, and machine learning analyze what it knows, what we gave it, what data we input that. And now we have AI agent. It's more like a breakthrough in the last 1-2 months. And AI agent, it's platforms based on AI platforms, what can create step-by-step actions, and those actions can be delayed in time. So you can give AI agent some task in the future. What could be triggered when we have opportunity to do that? You need to research this data and do that and that with that results. So you can only describe the results and time when you needed these results. And even if it will not be opportunity to do this now, AI agent will wait. And it's not that forgettable as human. AI agent can hire other AI agents. They can create opportunities. And this AI agent impacted our risk evaluation because now we have to think in abstract way about risk. What can come in the future? If we give some task, what will be not relevant, what will be maybe harmful, what will be not relatable to our current demand in the future, but we did it 1 or 2 years ago, and it's triggered by certain events or certain time. So in this case, AI agent kind of creating another level of unknown. And this, how I kind of would like to explain it on example. For example, if you've been asked to evaluate risk, to create the risk assessment for chopping tree, you know physics, you know math, you can evaluate risk of falling tree in any possible direction, risk of operating an axe, risk of not knowing how to operate an axe, risk of chopping a tree, and you can create step-by-step instructions for not only for you, but for another person. So the only unknown here is if this person can learn that well and can read your instructions, or if you take into account all factors. But point is, if you know how to do that, if you know this action, especially on a practical approach, if you ever chop the tree, you can create the risk evaluation with 98% of risk prediction. Another risk evaluation example, let's imagine you need to evaluate risk for complex algorithm of actions. Let's say it's risk of the space flight to Jupiter, Moon, and settlement there. Flight will take 750 days for 120 people. And it's a lot of environmental factors: radiation, extreme cold, communication delay, 45-60 minutes round trip, and a lot of physiological effects, solar storm, electromagnetic interference. The biggest factor is you don't know many of them because it's too much information. And if something will happen, you will not be able to react in time. And it's a lot of human error, I would say, because when we're saying about generative AI risk and about AI agent risk, we incorporating here human risk because the AI agent created by human and the request for the certain task created by human. So we can be forgetful, we can create something what we don't need. So that's pretty much 120 people, 750 days in isolation with a lot of different factors from all other sides. So overall mission risk prediction is about 60%. Honestly, I think NASA been very overly optimistic here. I don't believe in the 60%, but let's trust them. So another risk evaluation examples. And yeah, here in risk evaluation examples, another part of unknown, and this NASA evaluating risk 40% of prediction, it's when people settling already on Jupiter moon, and everything what we know about that environment, we know in theory. Even so, it's physics theory, it's math theory, it's still theory, and it's a lot of variables. So it's even less percentage of risk prediction because there is a lot of factors what we can miss, and it creates domino effect. So if we put these risk evaluation examples on Gen AI and AI agent operating for 2 years, self-evolving, let's say no human correcting the data, no human correcting the output. And Gen AI algorithm change over time and based their decision on the decision of this Gen AI. What may be based on poisonous data, what may be based on the wrong training data. And that would be the feedback loop what going in the wrong direction. So we have a huge scale of unknown and unforeseen risk. And we adding here AI agent coordination risk when they do self-hiring, coordination, and it's delayed in time. So some tasks will be delayed in time if they cannot do something right now, or be delayed, it's in time for them. So we can easily lost of control over AI decision at that scale, because human intervention become impossible on some certain level when it's terabytes and terabytes data going on top of each other and data entry. So overall AI risk prediction for 2 years, self-evolving without human correction and risk evaluation, it's 40-50%. The same as for the Jupiter moon settlement right now in current technologies. And interesting part is when we're talking about AI risk evaluation, I have a huge auditing experience. I am auditing companies, HQ offices of the companies almost every week. And what I hear a lot, first, there is two main approach. First, company banning AI. They're saying we're not using AI. It's too risky, we're not using AI. But I think it's more kind of denial approach because the employee still using that, or the supplier still using that, and you delaying time to know it's the risk and how to apply AI better. So you're still in danger because everyone around you is using that. Not saying about market competitiveness. And another approach is companies going to the enterprise, Copilot, enterprise AI, which also has its own risk. So the main point of whatever I tell you, yes, it's complicated. Yes, it's kind of scary to lose touch of this risk, to give it free to go self-evolving pace. But what we need to understand is where the risks are, how to expose them, and how often we need to evaluate them. So where the risk? And as I explained to you, machine learning, it's like a chopping a tree. Simple, predictable, fairly safe, because you know how to do that, you know all possible risk, and a worker can follow instructions step by step. Generative AI, it's like a space flight to Jupiter. A lot of variables. The risk evaluation become really heavy with a lot of data, and you need a lot of resources to evaluate that. Usually companies don't have tendency to dedicate the budget on the testing or on risk assessment. It's kind of the last thing what companies do on such a detailed scale. And generative AI create a lot of variables, a lot of data for heavy risk evaluation. And now it's AI agent. From my perspective, AI agent creates only one really hard to manage variety. It's long-term unpredictability. It's when it's triggering a delay in time, when we can create AI agent and forget about that, and when we can create something what will be working without us controlling, and we don't need it anymore, but we don't know what it exists somewhere. So it's like AI managing space colony with no human oversight of that management, but still humans' life depends on that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of sci-fi. Sorry, maybe it's too complicated example. So for me, the more important here is to look at the risk predictability. So the risk predictability, when it's low, you can miss a lot. You can miss about 50% of the risk. It's quite serious. And here you can miss only 10% of risk. So the risk predictability, this is the main risk factor what we have to pay attention to. In application of AI and using of AI, we have three types of risk. And this kind of my invention, it's like patting myself on the shoulder. It's informational security risk, data privacy risk, what we have from using AI, quality of data, quality of output of AI, and plagiarism. Sometimes one risk appears without the other, making them some kind of interconnected, but still we can have one risk without other. And a lot of people who do risk evaluation, they confusing one risk with another. For example, companies who using enterprise copilot account. And I had very interesting conversation with National Security Director of Microsoft on Black Hat conference. I asked him, he didn't swear me to do not tell anyone, so I kind of free to tell. So I asked him if they have a lot of complaints about enterprise AI become more stupid and not evolving on the same level as OpenAI, and he said yes, we have this a lot. And I asked him if they have any intention to develop some kind of update or training data refreshment or something for the companies. And he said what they did research, but it's too expensive. So they kind of don't do that because it's too customized. So the point is, when you have enterprise AI, it has training data only from your company. It's training in a silo. And no any company has a pure training data. It's a lot of wrong data, unstructured, poisoned, what really deviate AI behavior. So when we're using enterprise AI, we have high informational security, but we compromise greatly on the quality of data and quality of output. This is why you have to evaluate those risks separately. And plagiarism, it's very rare risk, very rare. It's more when a company using enterprise AI a long time on a very limited data and you have unique IP or your suppliers have unique IP and AI cannot create anything. It just have to copy certain unique code and it could be considered as a plagiarism. So let's look at the examples. Informational security risk coming from AI usage. It's when AI process sensitive and confidential data and not handling it properly. So it could be leak when some users create very sophisticated prompt or approach, specifically dig for your data or something like that. So it's just coming to AI data training. And if it's any private data, it's chance what it can use it. So why it's a risk? Of course, AI can store and remember private information, even if it should not. And data used for AI training may expose client details or personal information. And hackers, there is new site as prompt hackers can exploit AI models to extract confidential information. Example, software engineering company develop a AI-powered code assistant what accidentally memorize API keys, customer password, internal source code. And that kind of abstract example, but it could happen. So we don't have to exclude that. And there is a lot of people who concentrating a lot of efforts knowing how to exploit this open data and prompt hackers. Trying to move into quality of data risk, quality of output. This is the case when we move everyone in a company under enterprise AI account, for example. Yes, it will be very secure. But the problem is we're paying for very expensive enterprise AI licenses, and we pushing everyone use that, even sales and marketing who operate very public data. They don't even need it. Every data what they're using, it will be published social network or website anyway. And when they do that, it greatly compromise quality of data, and especially when they need ability of large language model usage, when they need psychological persuasion of customers or something, marketing strategy or something like that. So we compromising on the quality of output in the cases when we shouldn't, because if we have the category of employees who need to have security and equality, this way we have problem to find balance of that or put them on a hybrid model. But if we have category of users who doesn't need the security, who operate the public data, that's probably the greatest risk to see how we can avoid poor quality of output. And poor quality of output mostly come with the users. You probably saw a lot of LinkedIn posts what sounds like a familiar words, but you cannot put it in a phrase and it doesn't have meaning because they all created by AI. So this is the great example of poor quality of output in AI. When you're using AI and you not correct the data, you not correct the training, because it will adjust under your background, under your training data, under your language usage. So why it's a risk? If you have particular interest in the quality of output, some breakthrough research or documentation, it will create poor quality. For example, here the clear example. Now a lot of company using AI to create documentation on system documentation, management system documentation, on a software documentation, on incident response procedures. But no one ever reread that and make sure what it's actually aligned with what you're using. And this where I'm saying it's not informational security issue. There is no any data leak. But the problem is the output what AI give you, it's still poor. It's a poor quality. And this where we have the major issue right now, what people not considering, everyone looking only on informational security output. So this is one of the risks, but I suggest you to consider, especially for the certain employees, categories of employees who particularly need to check high quality output of AI data. Another risk is plagiarism risk, unoriginal or unintentionally stolen content. Honestly, it's very, very rare, but still we have it. We have examples of that when company do not providing training for employees who taking care about, for example, patent database or some unique IP information, and they processing this through AI, and chunks of this information appears in different prompt inside of this company even, which kind of show what this risk is worth to evaluate. And again, remember what when you have enterprise account for AI usage, yes, it's fully secure, but it will be training only on your data. And if OpenAI developing and evolving every 6 months on open data, enterprise AI will be using only company data. So you probably have to implement tools on automated data filtering, automated data check, unstructured data cleaning, something to ensure what your AI do not degrading, at least staying on the same place or even slightly evolving. So that's always the risk. How do we fix it? We always have expectations, especially from AI, and it's like a fine pottery. The harder you hold them, the more likely they will to crack. It's from my favorite author. First, what I would suggest to you, it's always define different categories of users. Don't put all employees under one risk evaluation or under one AI policy. You cannot say all companies employ using enterprise AI or all companies employees cannot use AI. So you have different categories of users, even inside of one, for example, engineering departments, or you have different categories of users, even in R&D departments. Some of them are looking on making better open source software or open patents or something what doesn't have sensitive IP. Some of them taking care of something what is sensitive either for you or suppliers. So that would be absolutely different categories. First, your company will save a lot of money on not paying for the expensive enterprise AI licenses. And here I gave you some examples. I hide it to kind of play the guessing game, but kind of trying to save time, I will open this for you. So for example, marketing and sales, OpenAI, definitely for creative high quality output. They have all this less security concern, but if you marketing or sales working on something sensitive, put them in a separate categories. But mostly marketing and sales should use OpenAI because they require high quality output, your salary, the money, company money depend on them. Finance and accounting, enterprise AI for financial accuracy and compliance. Honestly, everyone's saying what is strict data privacy, but it's strict data privacy salary-wise. If you managing taxes, and especially if it's public company, all these taxes will be published anyway. So there is department inside of finance and accounting who taking care of public information. That also can be considered, not putting all finance and accounting into one strict requirements, because we have a lot of informational security. We have a lot of informational security tools like data masking when you're removing personal details of people from the finance reports. So these anonymized data, the same as in medical research, can be used in less strict AI, but with a higher output. So also you can consider different risk approach here. Legal and compliance could be high security if it's also personal data. If legal and compliance creating legal act explanation or work instructions or legal compliance standards list, that's definitely public information. They don't need to use enterprise account. Again, it's all can be included in a training. If you put this category of employees into hybrid approach, you can train them who and when can use enterprise account and open account. Just remember of compromising security or either compromising quality. HR recruitment, it's always high security because it's a lot of personal data processing, and HR, from my experience, from my auditing experience, the most negligent and most violating these rules. For example, when they processing candidates data, they processing them with AI, but they're not considering them as employee of the companies. So when you're submitting personal information processing or when you're a data processor or controller your company, because of that, you're counting only employees, but not counting candidates. And they can process 100 personal candidates details for one position only. So that's kind of also to consider and maybe to implement higher, more deeper training for HR and recruitment people for them to understand the risk of AI and how they can use it. And of course, for creating position description, they can use OpenAI. This is why it's a hybrid AI, because it still will be published and it's open data. R&D and engineering, as I said already, it could be different approach. Hybrid approach depends on if it's sensitive or open data. Cybersecurity and IT, of course, it's high security and it should be enterprise, except if you're using it for publishing policy, what you will publish on your website. So you know upfront what it will have no any security information. But in general, it's definitely private. It should be enterprise. Customer support, conversational AI, chatbot, automated responses, focus on accuracy, user experience. So you can add tools what will not be accepting private data, but still it's also need to be detailed approach to the customer support. The biggest risk here is data privacy. Operation and supply chain, predictive AI for inventory management, data-driven decision making. That's very interesting part. Supply chain, it's all kind of different animal for me, because we often, our biggest point, it's vendors and supply chain, because sometimes they claim they're not using AI and they have all training in the world, but they don't. But it's also something to put to the category in the risk assessment. So the biggest difference for AI risk assessment from informational security risk assessment, it should be dynamic risk evaluation. Every 3-6 months, somebody needs to sit and look if it's if it's anything new emerging, like AI agent. No one heard about them. No one believed in them 6 months, 9 months ago. But now apparently it's reality. And full transparency of closed risk. Whatever you closed, whatever you think not relevant anymore, or low risk or accepted risk, and they went to the archive, still have either duplicated risk registers or have this transparency to remember the history of closed risk of managing risk. I will go really fast through that. It's really interesting. I'm really passionate about this topic. So risk evaluation, it's not shaman dancing. It's purely strict algorithmic process. So you identify risk, what could go wrong, data leaks, AI bias, system failures, and assess likelihood, impact, for example, from 1 to 10. Calculate risk priority, RPM, likelihood, multiply by impact, and here your measurable risk score. And you develop the mitigation strategy. What most people don't know about, you can create many mitigation strategies for one risk, for high priority risk, of course, not for all risk. And many mitigation strategy can complement each other. So if not one working well. For example, this risk matrix example, not 10 by 10, but 5 by 5. And you can say, whatever has RPM in this area extreme, we will work on a high priority and will develop mitigation strategy. For all that, this acceptable. Yellow, amber, yes, it's bad, but we don't have resources for that. We will concentrate on that. So we will concentrate on that first. And this where you can kind of prioritize your resources. For example, we are choosing specific category and specific AI. Let's say the highest risk for us R&D, and we using enterprise copilot. And we evaluating AI model hallucination, likelihood, impact, RPM, and here the 3 different mitigation strategy. How each mitigation strategy can decrease this RPM and this likelihood. So impact always still the same, because if we have risk, we have the same impact unless we eliminate this risk completely. So we only decreasing the likelihood by this mitigation strategy. So here the example, we put the effectiveness, what we are appearing to be the effectiveness of this risk. And this is the pyramid of control, what I really like to use, and it's coming from safety. And it's really great to understand that. So if you do the mitigation measure, what eliminate risk completely, it means you don't have that risk. You have impact 0, likelihood 0. But elimination in case of AI, you either should ban it completely, or you have to, for example, move from OpenAI to enterprise AI. And in this case, you eliminate this risk, but you will create maybe other slow risk. So elimination is removing completely the risk. Substitution, it's when you substitute AI with, I don't know, different decision, Grammarly, which I think more risky, or any machine learning software, program assist, anything what substitute AI. Engineering control, it's more interesting. Engineering control, it's any tool what not involve the human factor. So anything what you create upfront. For example, I always saying the simple example, when you're creating complexity of password for users and they don't have any other chance, they cannot create any different password from what you gave them. Let's say 8 characters, something this, something that. You don't need to do the training for them because they cannot choose any other password. They still have to change it every 2 weeks, and this will be engineering control. It's a safety security by design. Administrative control. Administrative control, it's the most likely applicable control in AI, engineering and administrative. Administrative control includes everything what related to the training or work instructions or policies. And administrative control really insignificantly decreasing risk. Why? Because it depends on the quality of training. It depends on ability of people to read documents and absorb information. And it's also related on a human factor on the personal judgment in each situation. PPE here are not applicable. It's mostly from the safety perspective, but for example, informational security, PPE would be the screen protection from the direct screen usage. And it's why it's lowest, because it depends on people who have to intentionally put it or turn it on or apply it in certain situation. So be looking at engineering control on administrative control. My risk evaluation for previous.
We're like kind of a bit beyond time, so I don't know.
I'm finishing already. Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to do
yeah.
a few questions and answers, but like
Yep.
maybe
Okay.
just a minute or so.
Do you want me to answer, or I can finish with?
Oh, I think if you just hit another minute or two max, or
Okay.
maybe just
Okay.
some
So,
time for
because it's a huge volume of work to evaluate the risk, how we prioritize? First, I would suggest you to prioritize overall categories of users. For example, sales marketing, social network marketing, just put them aside. Low risk, they can use open data, don't care about that. R&D, some project based on open data, maybe you also don't have to care about that. So choose the category of users who need the risk evaluation most, who care about customers' data, and start AI risk evaluation with them. Evaluate each risk from the perspective of quality and informational security from two perspectives. And level of AI users trainings, basic AI training for all employees, just to understand when they can use OpenAI and why. And specialized AI training for specific employees categories who is in high risk. And advanced AI training for high risk but high benefit AI usage who need high quality output and also have high risk operating data. So that's pretty much all. And yeah, remember what training you develop, whatever course you take, talk you do, it's well outdated in 3 months, unfortunately. That's what we're living now. Okay, and I will look at the chart. It's the last slide.
Thank you, Elena. That was a lot of really good content. Looks like Richard has some questions here. I can read it to you, or you can read it.
Yeah, sure. I'm scrolling. Yep.
Okay, cool. I think that's just the only one.
Yeah, this was real good, Elena. I mean, the key thing was a lot of the risk with AI are similar to things that humans could have done, right? I mean, we've got workers that could hallucinate now, right? They can plagiarize, they can do all of these things. So if we'd had risk mitigation strategies in place for those things, then some of the risk associated with the AI could possibly be mitigated. Now, I would imagine, obviously, AI can do things faster, quicker, more transparent, but it still goes through humans, or maybe humans need to be in the loop, right? So for a lot of it.
Definitely, Richard. Just spot on. If company already have quality risk evaluation, you can update this with AI quality output risk evaluation or supply chain risk evaluation. You can update this risk evaluation with AI on suppliers, how you verify if they're using secure Wi-Fi, secure AI when they are using your data, for example, your IP company data. And the same with informational security. So it's definitely can be updated with our current risk processes. That's absolutely spot on.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I mean, the agents change everything because it's very much a black box. You have no clue how any of that's working and making decisions and things like that. So
absolutely. And what is most scary for me, and I told my family what I was writing about agent AI risk evaluation, and I scared myself. And I was like, the most scary is what is unpredictable tool in human hands. This is what scares me most. But people can do something with delayed in time, and maybe they forget about that. And it will develop an absolutely unpredictable direction.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm interested, Elena, how you work with a lot of stakeholders, and I know you work with product folks in addition to compliance. Like what's the typical reaction from product beyond, hey, this is, I would imagine they might say, hey, this is all about slowing me down and changing the rate of innovation. Like, have you been able to give other bits of feedback beyond like, well, it's mandatory? Like mostly like, what's the benefit of like thinking about these types of risk and these types of compliance versus just
definitely the biggest thing what I here I told you I'm kind of disappointed in that because I see only two approach from the companies, either to simply go to the enterprise copilot or whatever enterprise account. OpenAI also have enterprise account. Don't know what security measures they provide, but they also have that. Or they just ban AI, which banning AI, you cannot guarantee what your employee will not using this, especially HR and sales. Because they are less educated in informational security. And this why I don't see any understanding on that matter. Even a lot of companies, for example, using phishing email training, which completely change with appearing generative AI, because you will not see any emails from Nigerian prince with a lot of grammar mistakes, right now. So it will be perfect English with business-like, with all your proper emails. But a lot of training outdated, a lot of training based on that time when we didn't have these opportunities. So I would say, yes, I see people being mostly kind of, it's not mandatory, we don't do anything. And I think it's ignorance cause, not, I would not say informational security, I more say it's caused loss of the competitiveness in the market for the companies, because the more delay you training for employees of properly, safely using AI, the less effective you will be. And on a personal scale, on a company scale. So I see more problem in the quality risk of using AI, of knowledge of using AI, rather than informational security, but informational security definitely will be coming.
Yeah, that's interesting. Any other questions from the group? I think
I have another question, Elena. I build software, so if I want to get ahead of the game, I mean, in the past we had to get certain certifications if we wanted to provide software to government entities. So with the AI, are you saying that the ISO 42001 is the first thing to look at, or?
Yes, most governments and military companies now leveraging their supply chain on having this 42001 in addition to 27000. They have one high-level structure. So if you implemented one ISO, it will be easy for you to implement 42001.
Okay.
But yes, it's the way where you want to look into. And I also highly recommend everyone just to have the text of the standards. You don't even need to be certified for, you just need to look how to better implement that. And a lot of company can have implemented those kind of standards without certification until you need it.
Thank you.
And I've turned off mute. Everybody can unmute themselves if you have any other questions for Elena.
Okay, I don't think we have any questions.
I think that might be it. Wait, just 15 more seconds.
There's a lot of people muted. No, it's okay.
They can unmute themselves now.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah,
I turned off I figured if Scott said thumbs up. I figured if you waited this long and you're still a Zoom bomber, then you know you
Yeah. No,
you
that's
deserve a
true.
chance to
That's
Zoom
true.
bomb.
Yeah. It's not, I think it's not very popular topic for Zoom bombers.
You'd be surprised. Elena, thank you so much. That was it was a great rundown of a lot of information. And when we share it, certainly be sharing, and send the invite, I think is your LinkedIn profile and stuff, so people can reach out to you. I would just, just to sort of put my 2 cents on the whole thing is I've appreciated when we talked about not just compliant for risk management's sake, but also for thinking about how it benefits our customers and our stakeholders and using it to competitive advantage, as we talked about in some of the other types of certification work. And this to me is no different. It's another body of technology and art that we are incorporating. And if you think about it as a tax you have to pay, it's much less interesting than a benefit that we can go to market with and differentiate ourselves and our products for our customers. And so you and I had many conversations about CMMI and learning organizations and all that kind of stuff, which was part of like compliance, which most people wouldn't think it was, but it absolutely is, because many of these things start that way with the good intentions, and then there's some back.
Absolutely. And I honestly don't understand why companies limiting themselves either of banning AI or moving everyone on enterprise, because they can use on a huge scale open AI. It's just matter of, I don't know, introducing it into the business processes. And yeah,
Yeah, people need to learn, and back to your point too.
exactly. Exactly.
What's interesting is like, and you had mentioned this for, sales support, like there's no way to prevent AI from coming into any of these things, because all these tools that are coming out, people are just picking up and using. And yes, you could say no to a lot of things, but as we know, in compliance and risk management, if you just say no to everything, you're probably going to not have a very productive employee base, and your products and your services will probably suffer. And you just can't prevent it. So you might as well take like, hey, this is new, but we have to learn about new things. And I think that goes back to like continuous learning and incorporating that knowledge into what we do. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. My friend told me in Europe, in Switzerland, in middle school, they have AI class with a deep fake explanation. And
oh,
I was
well,
absolutely stunned because I think we need it too, because no any phishing training will go well without people understanding what AI can do and how you can use it for your own benefits, or how you can fall for that. In wrong
oh,
hand.
yeah. Excellent. Thanks everybody for attending today. And if you watch on the recording, please reach out to Elena, please reach out to Vishal or me. Max, thanks again for the sponsorship of Agile Austin. And we'll see y'all next time in about a month.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you so much.
All
Thank you,
right.
Mike, for having me. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.